Right then, lads, welcome back to Coach's Arsenal podcast. It is Coach here with the Evening Arsenal show. A little bit now recorded. Obviously, we'll have it tomorrow live. Don't worry about that. We're going to speak a couple of things. I think Arsene Wenger's 25-year-old mark hits today. And ever since he made his debut at Arsenal, it's been 25 years. 25 years since Arsene Wenger did take on Arsenal, and he said a couple of things today about his legacy and a couple of things. So I'm gonna ask you one or two things in the comments, in the comment box below. Sorry we couldn't do this live, but I'm gonna ask you. One is, do you think Arsene Wenger was a huge success at Arsenal? I'd love to know. I would definitely want to know. I would definitely want to hear from you in that one. Do you think he was a huge, do you think he was a huge success? And do you think Arsene Wenger is to blame for part of the problems? Is partly to blame, because for me he doesn't take all the blame, however much we might want to, but do you think he's partly to blame for some of the problems this club is sitting in? And I'll definitely share my thoughts later when I talk about Arsene Wenger and the 25 years that that he marks today as ever since he took over the Arsenal job. But we also have a problem at our hands, and I think we have ignored it for some time. We can't now ignore it anymore. It is Gabriel Martinelli. Now with Gabriel, it's been more like it's been more like people like me in the Brighton game. I said yes, it went down 0-0. We got a point away from. Away from the Seagulls. It's a very difficult place to go to the sea and get points from there, but we did. And of course Brighton started so well this season. I have no problems with that. My problem though is it's a game where we needed to be a little bit faster, direct. You need the players that have that kind of character, that kind of and Mikel has already said it last season that the kind of pressure, the amount of difference players like Gabriel Martinelli give you is unplayable. You just can't, you just can't discard their contribution. And then I'm asking myself, if you cannot discard the contribution of such players, why the hell do we not see them at least getting a chance from the bench in the Premier League? Because I think Martinelli really deserves a chance. He does not that he deserves it in an ascribed manner, but I think he has earned it as a 20-year-old player. I just feel he's more direct, and I feel he deserves. So, what do we do with Gabriel Martinelli? Do we let him out? Do we let him out on loan because he's getting more frustrated day by day? Getting frustrated day by day, and that is something that Arsenal, as a club, do not want at this moment. And obviously Alexis Sanchez and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, news linking them to a return to Arsenal still goes on and on and on. And look, we've talked about this before, and we're just going to do what you would call a regurgitation or a revisit and look at what exactly has been said today. But there is nothing different from what has been said earlier on. It's the same talk. Two players that have been at Arsenal before, wanting to come back, and maybe Arsenal has genuine interest. Actually, Arsenal do have genuine interest in Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I don't know what's going on with Alex Sanchez. Do we have genuine interest for that? I don't know. And then I'll also touch a little bit about Sevilla striker and forward El Nasri, another one that has been closely linked with Arsenal. So why don't you do me a favor? Smash a like on the video, subscribe, and get involved in the comments. What do you think about Gabriel Martinelli and Arsene Wenger? With Arsene Wenger, I've asked you two questions. One is he the greatest manager Arsenal have ever had? And two, in your opinion, do you think he's partly to blame for the mess that we are in at the moment? And number three, what do we do with Gabriel Martinelli. Let's get the party started. Right, to start the party, let's start off with let's start off with Gabriel, because with Gabriel Martinelli, I don't think it's a big story. It's all about frustration, not getting game time. We had the same thing last season. I think not with Gabriel Martinelli really, because I think last season it was more with Nicola Pepe. And look, this is still very early in the season. We don't need to make we don't need to make this a very very big deal. Like we are 10 games in 10 games in or 20 games in inside the season. No, it is only 7 games, and things could turn around. The starting 11 could turn around. And I also really understand why Mikel Arteta has not given Gabriel Martinelli playing time. Enough playing time this season. First and foremost, he's one of that batch that started the season, and they didn't start so well. And of course, the amount of pressure that was put on Mikel. So if he drops him, just like he dropped the likes of Chambers, just like he dropped the likes of Holding and Kolasinac and Leno, you don't blame him, because Martinelli is one of those players that really started the season when we had that that crisis, Aubameyang, COVID, and suffering from COVID, and Alexander Lacazette suffering from COVID as well. So in my opinion, Mikel needs to take the blame, but not heavily, right? Because look, if Gabriel Martinelli had taken his chances in the first 2 games of this season, definitely there is no way he would be dropped out of the squad. And that is not me trying to say Mikel Arteta is right by dropping this lad, because we know what Gabriel Martinelli has always done when he comes on the pitch. We have always seen his quality, and we know that he's such a quality player, and that's why people like me and you are out there still scratching your heads. Why does the manager not give him game time? So there is increasing frustration in the Arsenal fan base, with the players camp as well, that he's not getting game time, and this is 100% explainable, right? The reason there is, you have players like Saka, you have players like Smith Rowe, and Martinelli will feel that, look, I'm on the same level, right, with these players. They're not doing, because for me, Smith Rowe is a good player, and I like him. And Saka is also an exceptional player, and I like him. But at the moment, they have not done things that are astronomical. Like, they're not Kylian Mbappe, they're not Eduardo Camavinga. They have not done astronomical things, as compared to Gabriel Martinelli. They have not. I think the only disadvantage with Martinelli is injuries. Apart from that, I think there was a time, and we've got to agree to this, there was a time under Unai Emery, I think that was last season, part 1, in the Europa League, Martinelli was one of our top scorers before he picked up that injury. And we've got to agree to this, that by that time he was slightly ahead of Smith Rowe. Look, I think he was clear of Smith Rowe, and he was slightly ahead of Saka, because I think then Saka was still playing as a left wing back. At the moment, I think the gap is widened, getting wider and wider and wider. I think Saka is becoming relevant, in the Arsenal side. He's becoming more relevant in the English national team now. And congratulations to my boy Bukayo Saka, because I do really like him and rate him a lot. So the frustration with Gabriel Martinelli is, for me, absolutely makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. You've got to find a solution as Mikel Arteta. He's got to find a solution. Give this boy some game time. That's all we're asking for. We are playing Crystal Palace over the weekend. If you start Smith Rowe and Saka and Odegaard behind Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, nobody's going to question you. But in the 70th minute, if you have 2 goals to nil or 3 goals to nil, bring him on. As simple as that. If it is 0-0 and you feel like you need fresh legs, bring him on. He can run, he can score, he's very clinical. I think he's not very, very physical, but I think he's a little bit talented. You can play him on the wings, you can play him as a striker. For me, clearly there is no, the reason as to why he doesn't play him is far away from where do I play him. It's absolutely far away. And my fear and scare, with such scenarios is at one point in time, it's going to turn into Martinelli wants to leave Arsenal. Martinelli is tired. Martinelli is frustrated. And it's going to say, I want out. I want to go. Where do you go from there? How do you convince this player? He's been at your club for 2-3 seasons. You've not given him a chance. Clubs like Borussia Dortmund, for Christ's sake, are going to come for him. And he knows when I go to Dortmund, I'm going to get good money. I mean, almost the same paycheck at Arsenal, but I'm going to play in Champions League, and I'm going to play around good players, right? Still of my age, the likes of Giovanni Reina, the likes of Jude Bellingham, and I'm also gonna get the game time, and the world is gonna recognize me, and that's what I'm saying. That if there is a way for Arsenal to get game time for Gabriel Martinelli week in, week out, there is no excuse. It's not his fault that we are not playing in the Europa League, because I just feel like if we were playing in the Europa League, he would get more game time. But it's not his fault. I mean, he was bedridden when we were screwing up, when we were screwing up the season, so it's not, it's very, very away from being his fault. So my thoughts on that is, I think Mikel is right. You have to build a structure. You have to build a starting 11. But the substitutes are also very important. If Gabriel Martinelli knows that every 80 minutes or every, whenever the clock, marks 70, I'm coming on for Nicola Pepe or I'm coming on for Smith Rowe, it will give Smith Rowe a chance to work harder, but it will also give, Martinelli that sense of relevance. And for me, that is what you've got to do, right? Get this guy some game time. I need your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think Arteta is right? I mean, just don't play him. Just don't play, because I don't get it why he doesn't give him any game time. I don't get it. We don't have the biggest squad in the world. Even if we did, I still feel Riyad Mahrez at City. How many games has he started this season? But you can see him. He's involved. Right, the likes of FIFA, because if you're Pep Guardiola and have Mahrez, Foden, Grealish, Sterling, what do you do? Right, so he's got to give him time, and this should be over by then, right? So the next 4 games before the next international break, I expect a lot of game time for Gabriel Martinelli. Arteta has no excuse, absolutely no excuse. But away from that, let's talk about Arsenal transfers, because that is what you people do like most, on the show, and I do know, and I do know that, right? So there are 3 players that I'm gonna talk about in this video, and 2 of them we've seen their videos, right? We've seen the news. Alexis Sanchez from Inter Milan back at Arsenal. Crap. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I've received so many comments of you people telling me, Kosi, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain should come back at Arsenal. Nobody should deny it. Let me try to get some of these comments below. Let me just try to get some of the comments below. So many of you have actually told me, Kosi, bring back Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Listen, Quincy said Chamberlain is a good signing for a central midfielder. He'll bring experience into the Arsenal young team. David Lungu said bringing back Oxlade to Arsenal is total madness. It's not worth it because the man has serious injury problems. Lungu is on my side. David Benson said Dennis Zakaria makes a lot of sense. For Oxlade-Chamberlain to come back, no, I don't see that happening, right? There was Benson also on my side. Ronnie Method says, Kosi, I think Chamberlain is a good addition for the Gunners and even the best quality, right? Then Dennis Power said, what's going on? Bringing back Wilshere and now Oxlade, 2 of the most injury-prone players. Are they losing their minds in that club? All right. And then that was from Dennis Power, right? Then Thomas Fury said he went because he wanted to win Champions League, but he looks like a finishing player, finished. And then Dadon said we need Chamberlain. So if we are going to take that as a random poll, many people think Oxlade should come back, right? and I mean, I decided to talk about this in depth because of what you people really commented on that video, on the last video about Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and Alexis Sanchez. So look, guys, let's be clear. Let's be very clear. With Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, we want to solve an injury crisis, right? I don't see how. Look, give it to Jack. Give it to Jack Wilshere. Give him. I mean, give him some time. He's 29. Because if you're bringing back Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain for 6 months, and with an option to sign him permanently, to give him a permanent contract in the summer, it's madness. It's absolute madness, right? Yeah. However much we would love to regress and nostalgically go back, to those great times. I still remember there was a time when Manchester United outplayed us, and then Chamberlain just brought in a cross in the dying minutes. Olivier Giroud heads it home. 1-1, Arsenal get a point. Yes, I do love those times. I do fancy those times. They are good times. But look at it. Think about it. Are we moving forward or are we moving backwards by bringing him back at Arsenal? That's the question for me. That is where we need, we need the line to be drawn. Not on the good times we had with him. Look, if you're, if we are going to bring back, players with good memories, I could as well bring back SWOOP.Wilshere. I think he was one of the most talented. There was this question on FTV's poll on Twitter that if there was one player you would give an injury-free free career, which player? And there was Jack Wilshere and a couple of them. But for me, look, I think one player that I'd give an injury-free career would be Vasil Abu-Jabe. What a talent. What a talent. And fuck injuries. What a talent. That guy, for me, just exceptional. Was just exceptionally talented. But away from that, and maybe Thomas Rosicky as well. I think Rosicky as well. Rosicky, another exceptional one. Another exceptional player. But let's get away from that. Let's come back to Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. So, with Chamberlain, I want to believe that Arsenal want to go for this move in a good heart, out of good intentions, because they don't want to spend a lot of money in January, trying to cover for Partey and Xhaka's injury. But what about players like Denis Zakaria? That is a deal that makes sense for me. I don't know whether it makes sense for Arsenal, but that is a deal that makes sense for me. Zakaria is there. His contract is running down in the summer. Get him. As simple as that. So for me, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, however much I would love him to come back at Arsenal, I'm still struggling to find the relevance of that transfer. I'm still struggling to find the relevance. Look, if you get him and he gets injured in the second week of January, where do you go from there? You need someone that gets injured because they've gotten injured, not because their injury record suggests that. And for me, it's not Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. It's none. I don't know what you think, people, but for me, it's not Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and I think Arsenal should do better, and we should do better. We need to do better, and to do better, go for Zakaria, right? Go for Denis Zakaria. He's Swiss. He's not gonna suffer from, AFCON. He might, if he gets injured, every player does. But his injury record is not nasty, right? So I mean, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Now still talking about Alexis. There is one that is linked with a swap deal to Arsenal, and I've seen the story today. Still again gaining a couple of, making a couple of rounds and rhythms. It's Alexis Sanchez. I don't know what the hell is so interesting about this, and I don't know where these stories are really coming from. Alexis Sanchez back at Arsenal. Would it make any sense? Would it make any sense? I don't know. It wouldn't make sense for me. In fact, to bring back Alexis Sanchez, I would rather bring back Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I mean, it's even crazy. What am I saying? But I don't take any of them back at Arsenal. I don't take any of them back. No, it is done. It's time, their time at Arsenal is done. Let's move forward, and that's it, right? Move forward, that's it. And then Yusuf El Naisri, another player that has been linked with Arsenal, plays with Sevilla at the moment. And Arsenal, I believe to be, I believe to have made some contact. Not 100%, not really 100% sure about that, but Arsenal, I believe to have made some sort of contact. I wish that makes sense. Some contact with Sevilla to get Yusuf El Naisri. The player would love to have the move. Arsenal want to have a striker, and Sevilla probably will want to sell. So we will see whether it happens in the summer. I don't believe it will happen in January. Arsenal, of course, trying to think about Alexander Lacazette and his situation, but I think it will be absolutely mad and stupid for us to let him go in January. Let him go in the summer, accept the loss, take it, and move forward, right? So Yusuf El Naisri, I mean, the story is there. That's all we have to. That's all we have to talk about him and the contract and the transfer situation with Arsenal. But lastly, Arsene Wenger today marks 25 years ever since his debut at Arsenal as manager. And in his career, the most important statistic for me is that he won Premier League titles, 3 of them. 3 Premier League titles. Around 5, I think he has around 5 FA Cups. Around 5. He didn't win the EFL Cup, but I think he has around 5, FA Cups. The question I asked you is, do you think he is the greatest Arsenal manager? In your opinion. Now look, I'm unlucky. I've only seen 3 Arsenal managers and 1 caretaker. Right? That is Arsene Wenger, Mikel Arteta, Unai Emery, and Freddie Ljungberg. Ljungberg is the caretaker, and the other are the managers. Right? So my question there is, really doesn't make sense if you've not watched. Look, we've read about the history, of Arsenal, but I think I'm gonna say this. For me, a manager that I've seen, a manager that I've adored in Arsene Wenger is my best Arsenal manager. Now, look, do I think he's partly to blame for the mess we are in? Yes, I do. Now, this is where at times we're gonna disagree, and I'll take it. I'll take it. Anyone who disagrees with me, I will take it. I still think Arsene Wenger is part of the is part of the problem we are suffering now. Not because that he didn't leave earlier. No, I've changed my mind on that. I thought him leaving earlier would have done done us a great deal of good. No, but I think under Arsene Wenger there was a lot of that is when the system was eaten. There was a lot of covering up, and now the wound has just by the time the wound is opened by the likes of Unai Emery, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Look, this is what Arsene said. This is what Arsene said, and absolutely out of love and respect, please do not try to scratch the legacy of this man at Arsenal. So he said, I gave the best years of my career to develop what I think is important, the stadium, and pay it back and put the club in a position where it was capable of facing the future. I am most proud of putting the club in that position. That is Arsene Wenger, and that is a brilliant. That's a very brilliant quote. Very, very brilliant and very good choice of words. Right? I gave my best years, or the best years of my career, to develop what I think is important. The stadium, pay it back, and put the club in a position where they're capable of facing the future. That is where I absolutely disagree with him. That's where I absolutely disagree with him. Yes, the stadium, we are grateful. It's absolutely beautiful, right? Beautiful with the capacity with a capacity that can earn us good money. But I think when he says putting us in a position where we could face the future, no, it's absolutely not true. Look at just look at the players that we had when Arsene Wenger left: the Xhakas, the Kolasinaks, the Peter Cheeks, Chambers, shit, absolute shit. The likes of Rob Holding. I still feel he could have left us in better hands. He could have left us in a better position. The first thing he could have done is suggest, like, get involved and suggest who comes in to replace him. I thought that would work. I thought that could have worked absolutely well. He didn't do that. But even if he didn't do that, why didn't he leave us? Because look, if he had left Arsenal at a time where we had Jack Wilshere, Jack Wilshere, Ramsey, maybe the likes of Loro Koscielny, anyone who took, anyone who took, because that is the Arsenal that was finishing in top four, but playing good football, finishing top four, not winning anything. And that is the mockery was, oh, Arsenal do not win anything. Top four is their, top four is their title, right? By the time he left, top four was no longer our title. We were actually no longer top four contenders, right? We had lost. Did we lose a final to Atletico Madrid? And we also lost a semi-final. We lost a semi-final, a Europa League semi-final to Atletico Madrid with him. And then I think the following season, we lost the final to Chelsea 4-0. Europa League under Unai Emery. I think he left the club in look, like I said, I don't want to scratch his legacy, but the stage in which he left that club, he could have left the club better. He could have left us with the likes of the young players, promising, because he was good at that. We know he was good at that. Give us 11 young players, give us 7 young players, and then leave, and then we will know we are moving in the foot. Because for me, this club has lost identity, and the moment Arsene Wenger left the club, the identity died out. So that means he built that, he had built the identity, the football we were playing. It was Arsene Wenger football. It wasn't the identity of the whole club, because it is absolutely gone. Absolutely gone. So with Arsene Wenger marking 25 years, ever since his Arsenal debut, you could make sense of it in any way you want, but I think still a legend, great man, top man. Smash a like on the video. Do subscribe to the channel, lads. My questions are in the comment section. Make sure you do answer. 1, is Arsene Wenger the best manager, the best Arsenal manager, according to you? And do you think he's responsible for the mess that we sit in as Arsenal Football Club? I'll speak to you tomorrow live. Make sure you turn on the notification bell after subscribing. Kwaheri for now.